All right, so at the top of this page, I've summarized the two ways of finding zeros that we've already worked on. So that's using the factored form and the zero product property, and then using the standard form and the quadratic formula. You can also do this graphically. So if you're looking at this picture, it's the x values for where your function crosses the x-axis. So I'm calling this kind of a grab bag. There are 6 problems on here. You can use any of these techniques that you like. I will expect you to be able to do some algebra ones on the test, though, so make sure that you are practicing those. So that you'd actually go ahead and just pause the video and give all 6 of those a try, and then come back and we'll go through them together. All right, so this first one here, 2x squared plus 4x minus 3. Because this starts with a 2 in front of the x squared, I'm going to use the quadratic formula rather than factoring it. So you can certainly try factoring it. I don't know that this one factors very cleanly, though. So a is 2, b is 4, c is negative 3. So again, x is negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 3. All over 2 times 2. I get negative 4 plus or minus. If I number crunch this, I got the square root of 40 over 4. And goodness, that sure does look gnarly. So I'm going to put that in the calculator. All right, so I have negative, let's put some parentheses up here. So negative 4 plus the square root of 40. So I put that whole numerator in parentheses so I get the division correctly. Divided by 4, so I get about 0.58. And then I need to do the same thing, but with a minus in the top. Okay, so that gives me about negative 2.58. Okay, so there's that one. So number 16. Has a 1 in front of the x squared, so I'm thinking maybe this won't be too bad to factor. So 42 here. So the numbers that I know that make 42 are 6 and 7. If I multiply them. And the one in the middle here, so I know the signs, one's going to be positive, one's negative. I just need to figure out which is which. In the middle, I have a negative 1. So I'm going to make the bigger one negative and the smaller one positive. So I get a negative. So negative 7 plus 6 gives me my negative 1. And then I'll use that zero product property. So I get x is negative 6 or x is 7. All right, on number 17, all I need to do is find these x values. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one here is x is negative 6. And here this one is x is 2. So those are my 2 answers. Number 18, so this one has a 1 in front of the x squared, so I think I'll try factoring that as well. Okay, you could certainly use the quadratic formula on that. The quadratic formula will always work. And I have a minus sign here, so I know one's plus and one's minus. And for 63, is that 7 times 9 maybe? Yeah. All right, and in the middle, I have a negative 2. So the difference between 7 and 9 is 2, so that's good. And then to get a negative, I'm going to make the bigger number negative, the smaller one positive. To get x plus 7 equals 0 and x minus 9 equals 0 by applying that zero product rule. So x is negative 7 or x is 9. Number 19, 6x squared minus x minus, okay, 6x squared, I am not even going to try and factor that. There's way too many possibilities. So I'll go with the quadratic formula. So a is 6, b is negative 1, c is negative 15. And x is the negative of negative 1 plus or minus the square root. Negative 1 squared minus 4 times 6 times negative 15. All over 2 times 6. So I'll get a positive 1 plus or minus something over 12. And when I put that in my calculator, I got 361. And 361 is not a perfect square root. It's like this one that comes out to decimals. So the decimals I got on there were about 1.67 and negative 1.5. I did the one last one, number 20. So the zeros are where my parabola crosses the x-axis. Here's the x-axis. This parabola does not cross the x-axis. So this one has no real zeros. All right, there we go. When you come back to the next video, we're going to start talking about the concavity that goes along with our parabolas.